It is 4 a.m. in Iquique, Chile, 8 a.m. in London, and 4 on a Wednesday afternoon here in Seoul. I'm Moon Kwon-young, and this is ARIRANG Korea's only global network. Our top story at this hour, Chile has been rocked by a massive magnitude 8.2 earthquake that triggered a tsunami. Now, for the latest, let's go live on the line to our Shin Se-min. Now, Se-min, what are we getting from Chile right now?
Yes, Kwon-young, a magnitude 8.2 earthquake struck off the coast of northern Chile Tuesday evening local time, causing landslides and prompting authorities to issue a tsunami warning that forced those in coastal areas to evacuate. The Chilean government has so far reported a total of 5 deaths, 2 from heart attacks and 3 after being crushed by a fallen wall. Considering that this was a very strong earthquake, authorities are saying that the death toll is relatively low. And also, power has been knocked out for thousands of local residents. Several buildings caught on fire and some roads are cut off due to the landslides. And currently, hours after the quake, tsunami warnings are still in effect for those Pacific coast of Peru, Chile, and Ecuador. And Chile's government emergency office said its tsunami watch will remain in effect for 6 more hours as a precaution. And other countries in Central America remain under a tsunami watch.
Well, Semin, we were getting reports that a tsunami warning has been extended to as far as Hawaii, so along the Pacific, I believe. Now, the magnitude of the quake was upgraded at one point, am I correct?
That's right. The U.S. Geographical Survey said the quake centered 98 kilometers northwest of the Chilean mining port of Iquique, 20 kilometers deep in the Pacific Ocean at 8:46 in the evening. The U.S. agency initially reported the quake at 8.0, but later upgraded it to 8.2. This quake caused small landslides as waves measuring 2 meters reached northern coastal cities within just 45 minutes of the quake. And multiple strong aftershocks followed, including at least 1 in the magnitude 6 range. Chile is part of the Pacific's Ring of Fire, an area where earthquakes and volcanic eruptions often occur. And the area has been hit with a number of quakes over the past 2 weeks. Kwon-young?
Our Shin Se-min reporting live on the latest developments in the crisis in Chile regarding the earthquake, and we will bring you more updates as the story develops. Much thanks to you, Se-min. Now, on another note, it is becoming increasingly apparent that the unidentified drone that crashed into one of South Korea's border islands earlier this week came from North Korea. The drone is suspected to have taken photos of Seoul, Baekneungdo Island, and even the presidential office, and this has gotten the security officials here in South Korea worried. Our Kim Young-gil reports.
Early investigations show the unmanned drone that crashed into a South Korean border island on Monday is from North Korea. The presidential office of Cheongwade presumes the unmanned vehicle to be from the north, as it was found after North Korea fired scores of artillery shells in the waters south of the northern limit line as part of a live-fire military drill. South Korea's defense ministry is continuing its analysis of the drone and is devising contingency plans to shore up the country's air defense. Military and intelligence officials are known to have concluded that the drones were assembled and developed in North Korea for reconnaissance purposes and was flown in from the north. The light blue drone was found on Baekneungdo Island just south of the disputed Western Sea border between the two Koreas. The drone is 183 centimeters long, almost 2.5 meters wide, and weighs around 12.7 kilograms. There was also a small digital camera installed on its body.
Drones can be used for reconnaissance missions with cameras attached. If the unmanned vehicle is loaded with explosives, it can also be used to bomb targets.
U.S. experts analyzed several photos of the drone's wreckage that were published in South Korean media and said the drone appears to be well past its prime and could even be considered an antique. Military and intelligence authorities say the unmanned vehicle is known to be similar to another drone that was collected from Paju City in Gyeonggi-do Province, south of the demilitarized zone on March 24th. South Korea's military intelligence authorities are collaborating on the investigation. Kim Young-gil, ARIRANG News.
A key U.S. official in Asia has criticized China for sticking to its tried and tested but ultimately unsuccessful policy of dealing with North Korea. He also called on Beijing to use its influence to push Pyongyang towards denuclearization. And this comes as our UDN reports as North Korean leader Kim Jong-un continues to talk tough against the United States.
The United States top point man on Asia says China is still struggling to set a clear priority in terms of its strategy towards North Korea. Speaking during a conference call hosted by the Asia Society, Daniel Russell, the Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs, laid out two contradicting imperatives faced by Beijing. One is the maintenance of stability on its border, and the other, ending North Korea's quest for nuclear weapons capability. He added that while China continues to hold on to its coaxing tactics towards Pyongyang that proved to be futile, he said Chinese leaders are starting to realize that they need to put China's own national security interest in ending the nuclear program above anything else. The veteran diplomat then urged Pyongyang's traditional ally to take further steps to convince North Korea towards denuclearization. The comments come as North Korea continues to ramp up its anti-U.S. rhetoric. Speaking in front of the commanders of the North Korean People's Army on Tuesday, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un accused the United States of ignoring its good intentions and generosity, and of trying instead to annihilate and isolate the country and crush it by using military force. Kim added he would not accept the U.S. policy towards his country and demolish it completely. Pundits expect Pyongyang to carry out more provocations this month as it's set to celebrate the birthday of late national founder Kim Il-sung and the foundation of the North Korean military. U.S. President Barack Obama is also set to visit South Korea at the end of the month. Yurian, ARIRANG News.
Well, there are now exactly 200 days to go until Korea opens one of the world's largest conferences on information and communications technologies. Now, the UN-affiliated International Telecommunications Union Plenipotentiary Conference will take place in Korea's southern port city of Busan come October. The Science and ICT Ministry, which is organizing the three-week event, says around 150 ministerial-level officials from nearly 200 member countries will attend. Officials will focus on promoting international cooperation and technology development with Korea, putting an extra emphasis on sharing knowledge about how to converge ICT with other industries. The ICT Ministry is also confident that the event will generate more than $650 million worth of economic impact by attracting some 3,000 participants and 300,000 additional tourists. Now, in Korea's National Assembly, the co-leader of New Politics Alliance for Democracy has proposed an inter-Korean summit and sending a South Korean delegation to Pyongyang if needed to improve ties between the two Koreas. In an address to the National Assembly Wednesday, An Chol-soo said the summit should be viewed by the Park Geun-hye administration as a step toward reunification after gaining support from the public. Now, with regard to improving the livelihoods of the people, the co-chief suggested holding meetings with the ruling party every first week of the month. An, however, also took a swipe at President Park Geun-hye's reform drive. He said her steps to remove excessive regulations on business activity should be done with more caution. Now, the United States has confirmed that 35 Japanese war criminals are currently banned from entering the United States. Now, that is more than double from the 16 previously reported. U.S. Justice Department spokesman Peter Carr provided the new figure in an interview with Korea's Yonhap News Agency, although he declined to give any more details about those who are on the list. But sources say roughly 20 of the individuals belong to Army Unit 731, which carried out brutal and lethal experiments on humans during World War II. Now, most of the others were related to the establishment of comfort stations or military brothels where women were forced into sexual slavery by the Japanese military. The list of Japanese war criminals banned from entering the U.S. was first established back in 1996. Seoul shares closed 0.25% higher on this Wednesday, with investors taking to the sidelines ahead of a U.S. jobs report. The benchmark Kospi gained 5.25 points to 1997, and the market started the day higher and surpassed the 2,000 mark at one point for the first time this year. Of course, 2,000 is a psychologically very important mark, and the tech-heavy Kosdaq gained 8.5 points to over 557 to close the day. Analysts say shares in the coming weeks will be affected by a number of factors, one of them being a Samsung Electronics performance report that will be released next week. The U.S. jobs report coming this Friday is another. And on the foreign exchange counter, the Korean currency ended at 1,056 won against the greenback. Now, a fresh reminder that the nation's snowballing debt problem is only becoming more serious. The country's household, government, and corporate debt all put together amounted to over $3.5 trillion as of the end of last year, and this is almost 3 times larger than the total scale of the nation's economy. The Bank of Korea said Wednesday that the ratio of the debt to the nation's GDP stood at 265%. Well, the figure has been on a steady rise since 2004 and spiking in 2008 to around 250% when the nation was hit by the global financial crisis. Korea's top economic policymaker has made a move, and that's expected to boost policy coordination with the nation's central bank. Finance Minister Hyun Oh-seok on Wednesday met with the new Bank of Korea Governor Lee Ju-yeol at the nation's central bank to celebrate his inauguration. Well, there, Hyun said that he hopes to create harmony in terms of economic policies with the central bank and to stay on the same page with Lee over current economic conditions at home as well as abroad. He added that the new top central banker has a balanced view of inflation, employment, and sustainable growth. The two economic policymakers agreed that while the domestic economy is on track to recovery, the U.S. Fed stimulus tapering and a slowing Chinese economy could hurt that momentum. Well, pundits point out that it's rare for a finance minister to visit the central bank governor. South Korea and the United Kingdom have agreed to enhance their bilateral cooperation in the financial sector. Now, officials from the countries also discuss ways to finance funding for Korea's reunification when that happens. ARIRANG News Song Ji-sun has the details.
Senior financial officials from South Korea and the United Kingdom gathered in London Tuesday to strengthen the two countries' financial ties. Chaired by Korea's Financial Services Commission Chief Shin Jae-yoon and Lord Mayor of the City of London Fiona Wolf, officials from Seoul also suggested channeling loans from international financial institutions to help North Korea, prepping for reunification in the future.
It's crucial to secure enough funding for the construction of highways, ports, factories, and energy infrastructure in North Korea when the two Koreas unite. We need cooperation for the international financial community to ask for loans for those projects.
The UK greeted the idea with enthusiasm, saying Korea-UK financial ties will be a new model in financial cooperation. The two countries will make their first step by jointly exploring the Asian and African markets,
providing us with the opportunity to share best practice and also seek to consider how we can cooperate on financing infrastructure into third countries.
Both sides also share their views on consumer financial protection and cooperating in the fields of financial supervision. The one-day forum was a follow-up to President Park Geun-hye's state visit to Britain last year. Song Ji-sun, ARIRANG News.
Well, when it comes to innovative ideas, Korea's Electronics and Telecommunications Research Institute is without competition. For the third straight year, the institute was ranked the world's #1 innovation center by a U.S.-based research institute. Our Na Hyung-kyung tells us more.
One of the world's leading business patent databases, IPIQ, says Korea's Electronics and Telecommunications Research Institute has maintained its status as the #1 innovation center in the world. That's among some 300 government agencies, institutions, and universities around the globe, assessed by the IPIQ for their innovation drive and ability to collaborate with other organizations.
They've outperformed the competition on developing patents around the hottest technologies in the space right now. We call it innovation cycle time, and ETRI is winning in this area by producing patents in some of the most relevant, hottest sectors.
The state-run ETRI, based in Daejeon, took the top spot this year with a patent count of nearly 900. That total is 85% higher than that of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the second-best organization on the scorecard. Aside from ETRI, the only non-American organization in the top 10 was Taiwan's Industrial Technology Research Institute. The ETRI has earned patent royalties totaling around 160 billion won, or roughly $150 million over the past 5 years, chief among them being patents related to the 3G mobile telecommunications technology. The Science and ICT Ministry says ETRI's achievements are a testimony to Korea's information and communications technology prowess and proof that the country can succeed in building a creative economy, President Park Geun-hye's key administrative goal. A government official added that it will continue to help the institute focus more on the quality of Korea's patents from now on. 나현경, 아리랑 뉴스.
Now, over in California, accusations are flying around a courtroom as two of the world's biggest electronics companies resume their long-running patent battle. Making its opening statement Tuesday, Apple said Samsung copied the iPhone to figure out how to react and compete with it. Apple is seeking to ban sales of several Samsung phones, including the Galaxy S3. Apple's lawyers say the company deserves about $2 billion for the infringement, but Samsung lawyers fired back saying Apple was merely seeking to make up for losing its lead in the smartphone market. Now, the core of Apple's argument is that it revolutionized consumer electronics with the iPhone in 2007, risking nearly everything in that process, while Samsung took the easy way to success, copying many of its features and making billions of dollars as a result. Well, the trial is expected to last until early May. Battery maker Samsung SDI plans to acquire electronics materials affiliate JL Industries by swapping shares in the latest restructuring of Korea's biggest conglomerate, Samsung Group. Well, the group, which has roughly $407 billion in assets that span from handsets and shipbuilding to medical services, is restructuring ahead of a widely expected transfer of ownership to the third generation of the founding family. Well, for the immediate to long-term effects and their implications, let's bring in our Dr. Kim Byung-ju. Good afternoon to you, Dr. Kim.
Good afternoon.
Now, Dr. Kim, why don't you help me out get this question correct before we head on any further? So, this merger, is this SDI taking over the JL Industries? So, meaning the end of JL Industries overall?
Well, yes and no in a way. Officially, this is a creation of a new company, actually. This is a technically merger. But the thing is, when we see the substance of it, it is indeed a, the overall contents or substance itself, it is a takeover by SDI of JL Industry as a whole. And what's happening is, let's bring up the picture to explain what the mechanism here is. Actually, last year, the fashion business, which has been actually the backbone of JL Industry itself in Korea, it's been known JL Mojik, and the Mojik part, the name actually means wool textile. And JL Mojik, JL Industry itself was the second company created by Samsung's founder. First one was Samsung, at that time, JL Flour and Sugar. And then JL Mojik, the JL Industries Korean name, was the second one that got the group into the textile business. But the textile part or fashion part if you will, was transferred to Samsung Everland last year. So what's remaining of it is being taken over by Samsung SDI, as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen. The overall logic of this merger is that before Samsung Industries was supplying material to Samsung SDI for their battery parts that will go into Samsung Electronics, smartphones. And so that's like three players being in one picture. And by merging these two, it has cut down overall supply chain and overall management lines and so on. So this is a consolidation or vertical integration process that we are looking at in this process that we are talking about today.
So basically, this merger would create another new company, if you will.
With the same name of Samsung SDI.
With the same name of Samsung SDI. Now, controlling the shares of this new Samsung SDI, how will that be done? That will be much complicated.
Right. It's a little bit tricky and complicated indeed. Let's bring up the picture here and then let me explain how it's going to happen. You have already mentioned that this will be a share swap, but it's not going to be a one-to-one swap, but rather the ratio will be, what's going to happen is the JL Industries shareholders will get 0.44 share of new SDI for their one share. So this is 1 to 0.4 exchange that's taking place. And when that happens, as you can see on the screen here, currently the old Samsung SDI, which will, by the way, be in existence until the end of June, and January 1st is the date when this new company will be launched. And the current SDI's major shareholders are Samsung Electronics and the National Pension Service. And the major holders for JL Industries at this point, National Pension Service leads, and then Samsung Cards has a substantial share. And now what you see on the right-hand side of this picture is the overall structure that we will get to see starting from July 1st, when this new company, Samsung SDI, is launched.
Well, still a little bit tricky and complicated for the average, Koreans here.
Right.
Now, the market reaction, let's take a look at that. It was rather lukewarm when they first got the news. I wonder, why is that?
Yeah, lukewarm reaction itself was something that not many people were thinking about. But when you think of it, this is something that a lot of people have been thinking about in this. So it was a not real big surprise for the market. So there's no reason for jumping for disappointment or excitement here. And actually, stock analysts are still kind of calculating what this 1 to 0.4 exchange actually means for individual shareholders. So they're kind of like holding back their reaction at this time. And also, there has been some speculations about what this could actually mean, because judging from the overall closing price of these shares as of last Friday, this should have been actually 1 to 0.5 exchange rather than 1 to 0.4 exchange, meaning that JL Industries shareholders got a deal that's not as good as they should have. And some people are speculating that's because leading shareholder of JL Industries is not Samsung family-owned business, but it's a National Pension Service. That's why they got less than a better deal. But anyway, stock analysts are quite busy to figure out the overall valuations and what it really means for the stockholders at this point.
No, this merger, not only is this a merger, but some say that this latest news tells us more about who the next generation of the E family will run the group. How so?
Yeah, indeed, this means another step towards setting up the overall structure of the third generation of Samsung family's control over the group itself. Let's bring up some graphs here. In the center we see Lee Jae-yong there, and obviously he will be focusing on electronics and finance. Now he's a vice chairman of Samsung Electronics, and his main area will be electronics and finance. And Lee Bu-jin, whom you're looking at on the left hand side of the screen here, she is in charge of Hotel Shilla business right at this point, and she will be taking care of probably the hotel businesses, construction, and heavy chemicals. And Lee Se-yeon on the right hand side, the second daughter, she will She is currently in charge of JL Worldwide. JL Worldwide is the media communication business, and she will be focusing on, in the future, fashion and media business. That's what we are believing. And currently, this current structure is being held together by these, shares that you see on the screen, Samsung Everland shares as well as Samsung SDS shares. By the way, SDS is different from SDI. SDS is IT service company, and these two companies are the key companies that are holding the Samsung Group together. But if somehow in the future they decide to break down this cross-holding structure and go separate ways, we might actually get to see a repetition of what happened to Hyundai Group before, after Jung Ju-young's departure. So Hyundai Group got into three different parts: Hyundai Asan, and then Hyundai Motor, and then Hyundai Heavy. So if somehow that structure that you just saw on the screen, Everland and SDS cross-holding share breaks down, we will actually get to see a new phase and new round of next generation of Samsung Group being controlled by the third generation owners.
Well, despite all, we are witnessing history in the making. Samsung being run by a third generation, first starting with Lee Byung-chul and then Lee Gun-hee, and now another generation. Samsung definitely a big group that has a lot of influence on the Korean economy, and we will get to be encountered by Samsung products every day for many, many years to come.
Absolutely.
All right, Dr. Kim Byung-ju, thank you so much for today.
Thank you.
Well, that is all from me at this hour. Thank you for watching, but do join me again at 6 p.m. Korea time on Early Edition at 6.